We thought that this panel would be very important to break stereotypes from each other's communities and talk about the kind of works that we're all doing to make this happen.
Tell stories about American Muslim women, in particular comedies to break down stereotypes. And I also created the first American Muslim film grant called with Islamic Scholarship Fund to help emerging Muslim filmmakers.
I'm very engaged with the South Asian film community in New York and around the US. I've worked with different organizations and different film festivals to program South Asian content or to run initiatives and programs for the South Asian film community. Currently, I'm also the artistic director of Tasveer, which is a nonprofit arts organization based in Seattle.
A little backstory, I started a lot of work in community organizing and social justice stuff. I worked in a shelter named after the legendary trans icon, Sylvia Rivera. I did that for about a decade. I was an Artists Academy member for 2019 for Film at Lincoln Center.
The type of projects that I really like to make disrupt the narrative of disability, because right now it's very narrow. So I'm trying to show people different personalities and different types of people that can have a disability.
A lot of what I try to do is to support filmmakers. So whether it's through producing, especially voices that we don't normally get to hear, I like to come on board and help in that way. Or even now as an agent, making sure that the clients I sign are diverse, that I'm not just saying, hey, I'm all about diversity, that you can see my roster and you can see that there's diversity in all sorts of ways.
I founded and currently serve as president of NYC Women Filmmakers here. And I founded that in 2015, really because I was working in commercials and branded content and digital media and independent films, and felt like I wasn't working with enough women. And so I decided to call some of my friends together, invite their friends, and get together. And that first meetup with some pizza and beer was so successful. And we decided, like, let's keep meeting every month. And it just kind of snowballed with the help of incredible women.
So I'll start with something general. Each of you have done significant work across the various communities that you guys inhabit, and some of you have mentioned your communities. So if maybe you can tell us more about how you balance doing this work, especially and as well as pursuing your own careers in film at the same time. How do you balance that?
It all kind of feeds into each other because, you know, through the workshops that I used to run, I found a lot of great collaborators. Whether it's actors or writers, directors. So, you know, there's a lot of amazing people I've met.
I think it's just an endless striving for it, and you hope to achieve it some days, and some days you miss the mark, and that's okay. It's something that I'm trying to do also, is just be gentler on myself, because it does take so much work to do this kind of work.
Things that you're doing, you know, to pay the bills, but then there's also things that you're trying to do to break down barriers and to fulfill your own dreams. And just whenever I'm just like, I'm like, okay, I think this way or one way, or maybe things are getting so and so, there's a reminder that there still is a lot of work to do. So I think that that's what motivates me to keep doing what I'm doing and trying to balance the best I can.
I'd like to know, what are some of the largest misconceptions?
There's a huge misconception that every single person who has a disability just wishes that they were able-bodied, which is really interesting. And now that I'm on this other side, I totally resonate with it, because it's made me who I am. It's brought me to where I am. Like, if you took away my disability, I would be a completely different person. So I think, you know, that's something interesting that I found through the community, is a lot of people just like how they are. They wish they didn't have pain or have to deal with stuff, but you know, they wouldn't take away their disability.
I completely agree with Ashley that representation is so profound, and it's something that I found affected me a lot growing up, not really seeing myself on the screen, not seeing people of color in the future, and sort of the science fiction stories I was gravitated towards, where I thought, if I were in the future, like, can we get a little bit more for us? And it just felt like, what is this? Is this supposed to be a utopia? Is it a dystopia where like all people of color have been written out, or are just like in the background as like, you know, token tools? And so I feel very strongly that, like, if you can see yourself, especially if you build a future where everyone is represented, can see themselves living in, that can have a profound effect.
This misconception that we're all the same, that we all must be at a particular point in our transitions in order to be recognized, or, you know, what constitute us as being beautiful. And yeah, I think that's one of the things that I struggle with in terms of like trans representation, because now we see it's like, you know, as always, it's like, what is the epitome of beauty and perfection?
I would like to shift the conversation to the idea of inclusion of thought rather than just representation in front of the camera and behind the camera. The idea of inclusion of thought and how important it is for curation.
I was at a film festival in Sarasota where this old woman stood up, began crying, and told me I was a beacon of peace because I had made a comedy between Muslims and Jews, and there was a whole thing about being a Jew-slim, which is half Jewish, half Muslim, and kind of coming through, and he was like trying to make pork sandwiches. It was just like a whole kind of like ridiculous thing. And so, you know, that's kind of where the bug started, is like education through film, education through art, which I'm sure we're all a part of, is extremely important to me, because all of those and just those shorts started great conversations with so many different communities.
What I'm noticing, you know, when I have these calls with the streamers in the studios and everything like that, yes, diversity is the big word now, right? It's key. Everybody's now looking for these stories that maybe they weren't looking for a few years ago, but with everything going on, now they're looking for it, right? And so I think the thing is, it's how we can make it so it's not just about, you know, for example, if you happen to be from Africa, the story isn't just about you being from Africa. It's about you actually being a human being, and you're going through things that all human beings go through, whether they're from Africa, whether they're from somewhere else, or, you know, all of that stuff. So I think that that's what I'm starting to see. That's very interesting.
We made, we made a short documentary a few years ago called Do We Belong, which was about the story of Srinivas Kuchibotla, who is an Indian immigrant in Kansas who was shot and killed in a hate crime in a bar. And so we made this short documentary with his wife, Sunena, telling the story of what happened in screenings around the country. That was a huge sort of educational experience for us and for people watching the film, because, you know, my goal was to take it to people who might not see it otherwise or might not have known about the story. The way that Sofiane kind of told that story was to really understand the humanity of these people whose lives were completely, destroyed with this one horrible incident. To learn how they are as people and to learn basically the humanity of it, how they came to America to build this life and this dream together. So, you know, that was a really powerful experience for us.
So for the new generation that's right now graduating, entering the generation of COVID, as I like to call them, the new world, whatever that means. Do you guys have any advice for them at all, pertaining to your own communities as well?
I think it just speaks to the importance of connectivity, right? Who are your networks? Who are you working with? Who are your people that just lift you up, when things are maybe not going away, or maybe even just you're trying to learn something? Who are the people that you go to?
My biggest thing is to tell your story. It's amazing now that you can make, right? Just go ahead and begin making things, posting things as you want them. Create a story. What is your voice? Finding your voice.
Fear is the killer of creativity. So like anytime you feel scared about something, it's going to kill your creativity. So just do it anyways. Like I continually do things in this film industry and I'm terrified as I'm doing them, but I just do them anyways. And then I'm so happy that I did them.
Thank you so much for all of you for participating. And on behalf of Greenpoint Film Festival, thank you.
Thank you. And hopefully next year we'll be actually at the film festival.
Yes, group hugs. Group hugs. Yes.
Group hug. Thank you.
Yes, group hug. Great, everybody. Definitely.
Great meeting you all.
Looking
Have a
forward to
good
meeting
night.
you guys all next festival. Yeah. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.